we're talking about the creep, I guess you could say, the creep of this ideology of identity politics, and why that matters, of critical theory. And I know we've had you on before for a whole show where we unpacked critical theory, and we've seen that change. And I know I at one point was at the forefront of the education battles of all this ideological change. But, when we look at the Law Society, I'm not a lawyer, you are. Not everybody's a lawyer, most people aren't. They'll say, okay, well, the Law Society wants to do this. Okay, so what? They want to adopt these statements of principle, so what? How would that impact me as a laywoman?
Well, let me give you just one example. Recently, the Human Rights Tribunal came down with a decision. And in it, the tribunal said, in black and white, that white people cannot claim discrimination because, and I'm going to fill in the gaps here, because the woke theory is that white people have privilege. And if you're a privileged member of society, then you should be discriminated against. That's the whole idea of equity. Equity means we're going to discriminate against some people and do things in favor of other people. So we've lost the core of that idea that justice should be blind. The idea of justice being blind means it shouldn't matter who you are, whether you're black or white or male or female or rich or poor or so on. Now, justice has taken the blindfold off and wants to see who you are and adjust the rules accordingly. And so there are going to be certain segments of society that cannot depend upon the law being neutral. What has happened is that the woke philosophy has become the stand-in for neutral. It is treated as self-evidently true. And if you are not one of the favorite, then you're going to be disadvantaged.
And for our viewers, again, what is woke philosophy? What do you mean by that specifically?
Right. So woke philosophy, as I mentioned, is really the politics of identity, and it wrapped into a neo-Marxist framework of anti-Western sentiment. It is an agenda to infiltrate and undermine the institutions of Western society. And that infiltration has been very successful. It is one could make the case that it's basically almost complete. And you can see the Law Society is just one of the many examples of that situation. So Canada, as a country of the West, is sort of losing its cultural moorings. And people are seeing things out there and thinking, what is going on? We're canceling our first prime minister. We see the Human Rights Tribunal saying that discrimination can be claimed only by one kind of person and not by another kind of person. You will see the curriculum in certain kinds of schools being taught that if parents saw it, they would be aghast.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things and many, many more are making people, when they see them, think, what is going on in this country? And what's going on is its cultural foundations are being shifted by this ideology. Sometimes we call it woke. Sometimes we call it critical theory, as you mentioned. It doesn't really matter what we call it. It is a cultural shift.
And when you so very beautifully and shockingly explained the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal decision, and that basically, as you declared it, justice is no longer blind, that's jarring, because one really looks to the law to be blind and to impartially administer the law. And so how do we live in a society like this? I mean, my father escaped communism. This kind of reminds me of that. Am I being alarmist here?
No. So some of the people who are most concerned about this tend to be immigrants who have come to Canada from other countries where there was such a regime in place, and they have left that place to escape those politics. And they've come to Canada and are now seeing signs of the same thing they thought they had left.
Wow.
And they are most attuned to these developments in some ways, because it reminds them of things that they know. Absolutely. But many other Canadians are oblivious to it, I'm afraid. And this has been happening for over a long period of time. This is not a sudden thing.
No, it's
This
been
is
a
this has been in
gradual.
development for decades, really.
Yes, and I have seen, like, the gradual creep, if you will, on these issues and just kind of noted it. We're gonna pick up this discussion right when we return from this commercial break. Stick around.